At 2:40 a.m. on November 17, 2024, drug dealers in East Kilbride received desperate texts from Phoenix Spencer Horn's phone. But Phoenix couldn't have sent them. She'd been dead for over 24 hours, her decapitated body hidden just meters from where her killer sat typing. November 16, 2024 started like any other Saturday for Phoenix Spencer Horn. The 21-year-old left for her waitressing shift at the Strathaven Hotel in East Kilbride, where colleagues would later remember her warmth and reliability. She could make even difficult customers feel welcome. That evening at 9:37 p.m., Phoenix texted her mother Allison that she and her boyfriend Ewan were home eating dinner. Ewan Methvin, 27, had ordered takeout at 8 p.m. A delivery driver would later testify that Methvin appeared completely normal, not drunk, not agitated. This observation would become crucial. The young couple had been together for 2 years, having met at a family party. Phoenix's family had embraced Methvin as an adopted son. He worked as a Royal Mail postman, seemed polite and respectful. To anyone looking from the outside, they were building a normal life together in their ground floor flat on Glen Lee. But around midnight, something shattered that illusion. Neighbors living below heard a loud crash followed by hurried footsteps. The sounds were unusual enough to notice, but not alarming enough to investigate. They had no way of knowing they were hearing Phoenix's final moments. According to forensic pathologists, Phoenix suffered 20 stab wounds, 10 to her face, and a deep chest wound that pierced vital organs. She had also been strangled by hand during the attack. Blood spatter was found in multiple rooms, tracing her desperate flight from the bathroom to the hallway. The perfect Saturday had become a crime scene, but what happened next would reveal something even more disturbing than the murder itself. Sunday morning, November 17th. Phoenix's body lay concealed under a towel in the hallway of the Glen Lee flat. Yet at 2:40 a.m., her phone was actively messaging cocaine dealers. The texts were desperate, repeated. Phoenix Spencer Horn appeared to be very much alive in the digital world. When Allison Spencer messaged her daughter that morning, she received reassuring responses. "Fee isn't up yet. I'll get her to text you," came one reply. The messages included those little X's that Phoenix always added, those personal touches that made everything seem authentic. Allison thought she was texting her daughter. In fact, the responses she began receiving weren't from Phoenix at all. They were from her killer. Here's what makes this deception so chilling. Between 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. on November 17th, Ewan Methvin's phone and computer logs recorded 170 accesses to websites. Over 10 hours of internet usage while Phoenix's mutilated body lay hidden just meters away. His fitness tracking app showed spikes in movement during the murder, corroborating the neighbor's report of chaos around midnight. Yet for the next 48 hours, Methvin maintained an elaborate digital performance. The forensic evidence would later reveal the full horror of what Methvin was concealing. After killing Phoenix, he had decapitated her using one of the knives found at the scene. Prosecutors noted his attempts to sever her torso, right wrist, and ankle. This extreme mutilation was described as an attempt to defeat the ends of justice. While engaging in this systematic destruction of evidence, Methvin simultaneously crafted loving messages to Phoenix's mother, maintaining the illusion that nothing had changed. This wasn't panic. This wasn't a mental break. This was calculation. To understand how Phoenix Spencer Horn ended up apologizing to her killer just hours before her death, we need to examine the insidious pattern that had been building for months. By 2024, subtle changes had emerged in the relationship. Methvin increasingly complained that Phoenix's late evening waitressing shifts made him lonely. "I feel lonely when you work late," he would tell her. Phoenix, naturally caring, would apologize and try to adjust her schedule for him. Over months, this formed a cycle. Methvin voiced vulnerability. Phoenix took responsibility by changing her plans. Experts describe this as an insidious erosion of autonomy, cloaked in concern. What Phoenix initially accepted as love became manipulation. The transcripts note that Phoenix apologized to him just hours earlier for working too much. She was trying to support them both, juggling multiple jobs with her characteristic work ethic. But Methvin had reframed her independence as a problem, her success as abandonment. Stop right here. This is the mechanism of control that kills. Not dramatic threats or obvious violence, but complaints disguised as vulnerability. "You're never home. I miss you when you work. Don't you care that I'm lonely?" Each complaint seems reasonable in isolation. Together, they form a cage. Phoenix's friend Grace McCabe, a Miss Scotland finalist, said Phoenix consistently reached out to support others. Tragically, Phoenix herself was being systematically undermined by someone she trusted. Throughout this escalating control, Ewan maintained his polite, considerate front with Phoenix's family. Her parents remained completely unaware of any abuse. They saw only the loving texts, the normal behavior, the adopted son they'd welcomed into their lives. The warning signs were wrapped in the language of love and concern. This disguise was so effective it fooled even Phoenix herself, who believed she was helping her vulnerable boyfriend rather than recognizing she was being controlled. Monday, November 18th, 2024. Phoenix Spencer Horn didn't show up for work. For someone with perfect attendance, someone colleagues could always count on, this absence was immediately alarming. While her co-workers began to worry, Ewan Methvin was making a decision that would expose his entire deception. At 12 p.m., Methvin called 999. "I had a psychotic break and killed my wife," he told the operator. He claimed Phoenix's body was in the hall with a knife by her. But even this confession was layered with lies. Methvin presented himself as someone who had lost control, overwhelmed by drugs or mental illness. The evidence would tell a very different story. Police arrived at the Glenlee flat at 12:10 p.m. They found Phoenix's mutilated, decapitated body under a towel in the hallway. 2 blood-stained knives were recovered, one beside her body, another in the bedroom. Methvin was arrested on the spot. Officers noted something unsettling about his demeanor. He was eerily composed, showing no visible remorse or horror. "I tried to dismember her," Methvin admitted in interviews. "I moved her from the bath and put her there." These matter-of-fact admissions contradicted everything about his claimed psychotic break. When police told him Phoenix was dead, his response was revealing. Wait, she's not dead? Not relief, not regret, disappointment. The unraveling of Methvin's story had begun, and every piece of evidence would strip away another layer of his deception. The forensic reconstruction of Phoenix Spencer Horn's murder exposed a level of violence that contradicted every excuse Ewan Methvin would offer. 20 stab wounds, 10 to the face, strangulation by hand, blood spatter mapping her flight through multiple rooms. The pattern indicated not a moment of rage but a sustained, frenzied assault. Phoenix had defensive injuries, suggesting she fought desperately for her life. The medical examiner's findings painted a clear picture. This was deliberate brutality, not temporary insanity. But it was the digital forensics that truly destroyed Methvin's narrative. That fitness tracker showing movement spikes during the murder, the 170 website visits while living with the body, the coherent, calculated messages sent from Phoenix's phone, complete with personal touches designed to deceive. A delivery driver had seen Methvin at 8 p.m. on the night of the murder, completely normal, not drunk, not agitated. This testimony directly contradicted Methvin's later claims that drugs or alcohol caused the violence. When Methvin appeared in Glasgow High Court in June 2025, he pleaded guilty to murder and attempting to defeat the ends of justice. The judge, Lord Matthews, did not shy from the details. He noted that Methvin had strangled Phoenix and stabbed her 20 times, then robbed her of all dignity and death by decapitating her and trying to dismember her. Methvin had written a letter to the court blaming drugs and alcohol. The judge's response was unequivocal. That is no excuse. Lord Matthews explicitly rejected Methvin's claims of being out my face or having a psychotic break. The evidence painted a different picture, one of calculation, control, and cruelty. On July 14, 2025, Methvin was sentenced to life imprisonment with a 23-year minimum term. Phoenix was standing at the threshold of what should have been a long and fulfilling life, the judge said. Yet Methvin, a trusted member of her family, betrayed that trust and robbed her of life in the cruelest way. The Phoenix Spencer Horn case forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about domestic violence. The most dangerous predators often look exactly like Ewan Methvin: polite, respectful, genuinely affectionate, someone your family embraces as one of their own. For 2 years, Phoenix's family had watched this relationship flourish. They'd seen Methvin at family parties, witnessed his integration into their lives. He wasn't some obvious threat. He was the postal worker who seemed to adore their daughter, the young man who sent loving texts, the adopted son they trusted completely. This trust became the architecture of Phoenix's isolation. When Methvin complained about her work schedule, it seemed like normal relationship navigation. When Phoenix adjusted her life to accommodate his loneliness, it looked like compromise. Even she didn't recognize the cage being built around her, bar by bar, complaint by complaint. The investigation revealed that violence stemmed not from external factors like drugs or alcohol, but from the gradual erosion of respect and control that had been building in their relationship over time. Phoenix's work ethic and independence were repeatedly framed by Methvin as problems. Her attempts to maintain her career became reasons for his unhappiness. After the verdict, Phoenix's family transformed their grief into action. They donated thousands of pounds to women's aid organizations in her name. As they said publicly, Phoenix's name now stands for action, for change in addressing domestic abuse. But the question haunts everyone who knew them. How did they miss the danger hiding in plain sight? The answer lies not in what they missed, but in what Methvin concealed. Behind every "I miss you when you work" was growing resentment. Behind every polite interaction with family was escalating possessiveness. Behind the facade of vulnerable boyfriend was a man capable of spending 48 hours crafting lies while living with the mutilated body of someone he claimed to love. Phoenix Spencer Horn was a 21-year-old woman who apologized for working too much. She died at the hands of someone her family trusted like a son. Her case stands as testimony that abuse doesn't always announce itself with obvious warning signs. Sometimes it arrives disguised as love, speaking in the language of loneliness and need, until the person trying to help becomes the victim of the very vulnerability they sought to heal. The digital footprint Methvin left, those 170 website visits, those calculated texts, that fitness tracker data, became the evidence that exposed his lies. In trying to create a perfect digital alibi, he had instead created a perfect record of his guilt. Technology meant to connect us had been weaponized for deception, but ultimately it was technology that revealed the truth. Phoenix Spencer Horn will never get to live the life she was building through hard work and kindness, but her story now serves as a warning. When someone makes you apologize for your independence, when your success becomes their loneliness, when your life becomes smaller to accommodate their needs, that's not love slowly revealing itself. That's control disguising itself as love, and it only grows hungrier with each compromise you make.